The chaos unleashed prior to the spotlight blazed. It started with a piercing yelp from Shadow. My rescue dog followed by a grunty moan, then a bellow from the HOA president claiming he was simply checking boundaries, as if that made it okay to scale my locked gate at 3 a.m. and kicking my dog so hard he clung. He didn't know my 20-acre ranch was wired, not with flimsy alarms, but with military-grade motion sensors, and a drone defense system I'd engineered on my Defense Department days. He also didn't know Shadow's caller rang my tablet with a distress call, launched 2 sentry drones from the garage roof, their thermal locks homing when the drone's spotlight pinned him like a thief in a heist movie, and a robotic voice boomed, "Identify or be neutralized." I didn't need to get out of my bed, but I did, because he harmed my dog, and that was a declaration of war. Earlier that afternoon, I'd been pruning apple trees along the west pasture, happily paying no attention to the HOA. I'd purchased this property beyond their reach to avoid their minor regulations and self-righteous flyers. My closest neighbor a mile out had no complaints, but the HOA's new head, Victor Grant, had an agenda to flex his muscle. Leaflets materialized, announcing expanded zone control areas. They dictated my gravel driveway be paved to their definition of beauty. I laughed and thrown the notice. Shadow marked it for good gauge that afternoon. He growled at a black SUV idling by my gate. I thought it was a lost driver, not uncommon out here. Fluffed Shadow and continued, "Big mistake, that SUV belonged to Victor, and he wasn't lost. He was casing that evening." I sat out on the porch with Shadow tossing him biscuits and monitoring the drone grid's battery logs. All green. Shadow sat up once, gazing at the north fence, but I heard nothing and attributed it to wildlife. I locked the system down at 11 p.m. and went to bed at 2:58 a.m. My tablet screamed. Shadow growled, pacing alongside the window. The screen displayed a red dot penetrating the east gate. Infrared spotted a large figure scaling over bound for the shed. Shadow shot out. I ran to the control room and launched the drones. 2 black orbs shot from the roof, locking into a hover over intruder on screen. The man was down screaming about being an HOA officer. The drones kept repeating, "Identify or be neutralized." His voice cracked, shouting his name like he was at a court-martial. He scrambled towards the gate, now humming with low-voltage current, cornered with Shadow growling close by. He was finished. I saw Shadow hobble, rage flared, boots on, flashlight in hand. I walked out as the drone did a sweep over the man's fallen wallet. Victor's face, illuminated by the spotlight, was a blend of anger and despair. "You set this up," he spat, gesturing upwards. I knelt at Shadow's side, his flank bruised for torn. "You scooted up my fence, kicked my dog, and you're ranting about boundaries on land you don't own," I said. He insisted he was checking for unauthorized buildings. I called the sheriff. Depute Carter arrived with backup at dawn break. Victor parked in a lawn chair beneath my porch. Light ranted about rights. I handed Carter the footage. The trespass, the kick, the HOA spiel. He watched stone-faced, then said, "Need this for the report." Victor's harassment claim got occurred. "You broke onto private land outside your charter. That system's federal grade, be glad it didn't shoot." Carter issued a trespass citation, warned Victor to lawyer up, and left. I carried Shadow inside, nesting him by the fire, then filed a Homeland Security report standard for drone engagements on civilian land. Carter came back later, smirking with a map of the county. "Your property is prior to the HOA. You could build a tank garage, and they'd never say anything." Shadow whacked by evening Victor's story of drone attack had gotten around. The HOA demanded an emergency meeting, but half the board bunked spooked. I'd done nothing wrong, just defended my house, but Victor wasn't the kind to give up. I reprogrammed the drone. Software added vocal threat responses and connected alerts to my watch. Shadow snored next to me. Let them try again. Morning came a sheriff's SUV. Carter, looking like he'd pulled the short straw, handed me an HOA complaint: assault by drone, intimidation, unlawful detention. They said I'd imprisoned Victor by locking my gate. I invited Carter in, showed him FAA drone permits, land deeds, and the dog kick clip. He grinned. "They've got nothing. That gate stunt's a joke." The HOA's lawyer sent a pompous email demanding I dismantle the system and apologize. I responded as a federal drone engineer on private property. I refuse affixing evidence of my rights and Victor's trespass. Hours later, a news van sat outside my gate. A reporter, all smiles and hairspray, baited a rogue droner, quote. I described the system's legal status and directed her to county records. Shadow posed like a star. That evening, an old friend, Major Torres, phoned. Your toys are famous again, he taunted. I briefed him on the antics of Victor. His tone tightened. This could be make-or-break infrastructure if it's linked with wildfire. Watch monitoring DHS would probably like a word with that. HOA, the stakes changed. I spent days fine-tuning the drones. Sonic Deterrence Shadow was issued a security chief vest from my old unit adorned with tree pockets. Then the HOA escalated the ante, filing a zoning complaint, alleging my aerial grid was against code. They didn't realize I'd obtained a state waiver for a disaster response pilot. Their action made it a state crime. I sent the zoning office my permits and their complaint. A governor's assistant called, asking for a site visit, bring coffee. I told them the drones like visitors. An inside note slipped into my mailbox. You're not untouchable. We'll take your land. I read it, forwarded it to DHS, and armed the new drone Ghost, a silent night flyer with audio record at 3 a.m. The South Sector feed dropped out. Jammed Shadow growled. Thermal revealed 3 men by the north fence. Ghost launched, catching whispers. Cut the wire, according to the blueprint. Someone had my grid schematics shared only with county emergency services. I triggered Ghosts. Disorienting hum. One man fell. Hugging his ears, another ran yelling, not worth the pay. They stumbled to a van plate caught on camera. It led to an inactive contractor tied to the HOA. I sent the video to DHS agent. Harper showed up with a crew digging up a crude jamper planted close to my solar panel. This is federal. He said, interfering with secured systems. They busted Victor's house, discovering emails linking him to the contractor. He was cuffed, charged with conspiracy and infrastructure sabotage. The HOA came undone. An investigation revealed board members steering dues to questionable transactions. Residents voted 79-3 to eliminate the HOA, creating a toothless advisory body. Vice President Laura apologized, owning up Victor's manipulation during the meeting. I stood softly with Shadow. Now limply, Laura told, you prevented a catastrophe. A virus struck my server weeks afterward, labeled MT. It bombed against my firewalls, but I incorporated AI threat filters and solar towers camouflaged as windmills. Shadow's new caller released treats on patrol. DHS gave me an offer of consultancy. I agreed. If Shadow was awarded a badge, then Victor's jailhouse suit alleging my drones destroyed him, my countersuit, videos, permits, laws destroyed it. The judge recommended Victor receive therapy. He accepted a plea banned from leadership, trailing into notoriety as drone bait. My ranch started a tech center, welcoming students and cops. I added a stone monument, Freedom, defended by loyalty and sky under stars, with Shadow by my side. I toasted the drones. Victor's kick started it, but true fan, a spotlight ended.